Hello everyone, this is Jared Pixley from Pixley for President again. Today I decided to talk about the demolishing of the East Wing of the White House. Near the end of October, Trump started to demolish the East Wing of the White House, which contains the First Lady's office, the office of the White House Social Secretary, the White House Calligraphy Office, and the White House Military Office. It is also where the entrance for the White House tours was located, and the movie theater was in that wing. The East Wing of the White House was built in 1902 and expanded in 1942. Betty Ford once said, "If the West Wing is the mind of the nation, then the East Wing is the heart." The National Park Service is the steward of the White House. The residence and its lands are called the President's Park. As a national park, you might think that the National Park Service would have to sign off on any changes. However, the law specifically exempts the White House, the Supreme Court, and the Capitol building from that oversight. All three of those buildings are controlled by the National Parks, all three of those buildings are overseen by the National Park Service. The National Capital Planning Commission and the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts are supposed to be consulted on any changes to those buildings, but their advice is not binding. That means even if they say, no, that's a bad idea, the president can go ahead with the changes he wishes. Now, Trump is not the only president that has done work on the White House. President Truman had a balcony built onto the executive residence. At the time, most people hated it. However, it has become part of the iconic look of the building. President Clinton and President Obama did renovations on the state dining room. Now, they didn't change anything. They just repaired damage from the old structure. Obama also installed the basketball court, which now Fox News is complaining about. President Roosevelt built a swimming pool in the White House, and in 1970, the swimming pool was boarded over and has become the White House press room. Later, President Ford had a new swimming pool built on the South Lawn. However, most of these were small and or necessary changes. Also, these administrations followed the proper procedures. They consulted, they discussed the plans, they got approvals. They also paid for these renovations either with their own money or through congressionally approved appropriations. No, Obama paid for the swimming pool out of his own pocket, but he did ask Congress for the money to fix the state dining room, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though. I sometimes make mistakes. There are laws in place that determine how things are paid for in the government. If businesses want to help fund the government, including funding the national parks, like the President's Park, which the ballroom will be part of, that money needs to go to the U.S. Treasury for it to be accounted and given to Congress to approve the appropriations. However, the businesses funding the ballroom have not given a single cent to the government. Instead, they've been funneling the money through an outside trust. With the destruction of this landmark, Trump has managed to accept bribes and donations from big businesses that may or may not want special government contracts in order to build his 90,000 square foot ballroom. This ballroom will dwarf the executive residence, which is only 55,000 square feet. These donations that he's receiving are in violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which is a law about appropriations. Now, the state dining room can be cramped during a state visit. They say it can seat 140 people, but that does not leave much room to move around. There's also the East Room, that can accommodate 200 people in the White House. That begs the question, do we really need to destroy the East Wing for a space that will hold 1,000 people? And how often will such a place be needed? It's a ballroom. How often will Trump be hosting balls, considering he spends a quarter of his time in Mar-a-Lago playing golf? If elected, I will work with the National Park Service, the National Capital Planning Commission, the U.S. Commission on Fine Arts, the White House Historical Association, and Congress to demolish the ballroom and rebuild the East Wing as it was. I will return the White House to its iconic look. The White House Historical Association did make plans of the East Wing before it was destroyed. So we have those plans that we can present and get bids for construction contracts, all following the proper procedures. The White House Historical Association also worked with the chief usher and the curator of the White House to make sure all of the artwork and decorations were taken out before demolition began. The White House Historical Association is a private, non-profit organization that works with the president and the chief usher and the curator to preserve the history of the White House. The organization was created by First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. I'm currently glad she did that. I will certainly need their help to restore the East Wing. The reason I want to bring back the East Wing is not just because it housed various offices. Those offices can go anywhere. It's because the White House is the people's house. It is an iconic structure and should be restored to its classical shape. Its history should be preserved. I don't mind adding to it, as all presidents add to those that came before them. Now, it's only this current one that is focused on destruction. And that is just wrong. We should not bulldoze our history in the middle of the night. That is not the action of someone who's proud of what he's doing. What happens in the middle of the night? That's when criminals are active. And destroying the White House should be a criminal offense. Yeah. Well, according to a Trump aide, they decided to schedule the demolition for the middle of the night so no one could see it. They put up screens so people couldn't take photographs. They told government employees in the Treasury building, who overlooked the White House, as they're next door to each other, that they could not take pictures or videos of the demolition. That is someone trying to hide his actions because he knows the people would be angry. And according to latest polls, most of the country is angry about the demolition. And we're destroying offices that are used. The First Lady's office probably isn't used all that much right now, because Melania wants nothing to do with the position. But the White House Social Secretary, the military office, the White House tours, all those offices are used. And to destroy them in order to put in a ballroom that we don't need, that's a vanity project, is an insult to the people that worked in those offices. It's an insult to the previous administrations, and it's an insult to the American people. This is Trump saying he doesn't care about the people's house. He doesn't care about what the people's house does for the people. He wants his gold-plated ballroom. Yeah, I know millions of people agree with me. I'd rather get rid of the ballroom and put back in the tour office. Let people come, visit the White House, see the history that's there, learn about their past, both good and bad. Learn from their mistakes. To be a better person, to be wiser tomorrow. And maybe have a gift shop that sells postcards. I don't know if they had that. I've never taken a White House tour, unfortunately. Yeah. But in 36 months is the presidential election. We still have to survive the next 3 years. But come November 2028, if you vote for me, you know what I'll do. I will bring back our history, and I'll work towards a better tomorrow. I will build, not destroy. Thank you very much for your time. Please like, subscribe, comment if you feel like it. Share this video with your friends. Help me get the word out so more people know that I'm running. And check the channel information. You can find all my links. You can find the link to my book on Amazon, Pixely for President 2028. Together we can win. Because with your help, we can win. We can overcome the hatred, the violence, the scandals. We can make the country respected on the international stage again. Once again, thank you for your time, and have happy holidays in the next few months. Bye.